Auntie, would you say yes if I told you what I really wanted? I still hear it, clear as if it happened yesterday. And I still ask myself, how did we get there? How did a simple yes unravel the life I thought was safe? Hey everyone, and welcome back to Hidden Love Stories. They say some moments haunt you forever, not because they were loud or violent, but because they were quiet. So quiet, you didn't even realize what had just begun. Today's story is about one of those moments, a whisper in the dark, a line blurred, and a single yes that was enough to change everything. Make sure you're subscribed, because some truths are whispered and some are confessed. And this one is just beginning. Some moments linger etched in your soul for eternity, not due to their volume, not due to their brutality. 2 years ago, my nephew's question shattered my world. Auntie, would you agree if I revealed my true desire? The echoes linger, vivid as if time stood still. How did we end up here? How did one simple yes shatter the life I believed was secure? Trouble found me anyway. I never sought love, recognition, or anything at all. I once had a husband. I once had a home. From the outside, it seemed I had everything a woman could desire. Loneliness creeps in, silent and unseen. It slips through the fissures. It's like sharing a meal with a shadow. Eyes never meeting, silence heavy in the air. Silence hangs, taut and fragile, night after night. It's like opening your eyes next to a stranger who has forgotten your name. No, not at all. Then David arrived. My sister's son, 19, heartbroken, adrift. In a house where I had become invisible, he saw me. Initially, it seemed innocent, little moments. Grateful for the unforgettable dinner, a conversation that stretched, heavy and charged, in the kitchen's dim light, a look that whispered secrets we both feared to acknowledge. I convinced myself he was merely seeking solace. I convinced myself it was just warmth I offered him. I convinced myself it was harmless. Until it shattered. Until one night, when the tempest outside paled in comparison to the turmoil within me, as his voice pierced the darkness. Auntie, would you agree if I revealed my true desire? I should have just said no. I should have fought back. Every vow I made to myself, to my husband, to the life we built, it all slipped away. Yet my heart whispered yes, my body surrendered. In that fleeting instant, I whispered yes. That single yes, just that one, altered everything forever. You believe your boundaries are clear until they fade away. You believe you understand yourself until a quiet yes escapes your lips when all you want is to shout no. A single yes shattered the woman I believed I was. Sometimes, the wish you fulfill becomes your deepest regret. This one is only starting. I wandered these hallways, a mere shadow of my former self, not in a way that screams tragedy or drama, only dimmed, here yet invisible. Essential yet rejected, breathing yet empty. Richard and I, entwined in a moment that could shatter or save us. We used to be different. I recall our endless conversations where nothing was off limits, when a touch on my back held all the weight of the world. A glance from across the table, and suddenly I felt secure. Somewhere in the chaos of long hours, missed anniversaries, and unspoken silences, we lost it all. We turned into mere acquaintances, exchanging only fleeting glances. Coexisting under one roof, but worlds apart. This house, oh, it seemed flawless. All is as it should be. A pristine kitchen, walls adorned with art. New blooms grace the table weekly. acquired by me, undeniably. Yet it was chilling, trapped in a still image, yearning for movement. Richard lost himself in the chaos of work, whispers in the dark, hearts racing, messages exchanged, moments lost. Journeys that stretched endlessly. Even at home, he was a ghost, absent in presence. He sat on the couch, lost in an endless scroll. A fleeting smile, perhaps, a silent acknowledgement, a fleeting kiss on the cheek, if fate allowed. Yet never a gaze that met my own. Hands reached for me, but always with a demand. I stopped asking long ago. In time, you discover the truth. You cease the struggle against the void. You merely exist alongside it. Then David arrived. My sister, may she rest in peace, left us too soon, devastating. Life-altering, a battle fought in silence, swift. Heartless, she was his everything. We had no choice but to take him in. It had to be done. He came with just one suitcase, eyes weary, burdened by too much life at 19, a heart weighed down by grief beyond what any boy should endure. That first night, he stood in our doorway, drenched from the rain, a lost child masquerading as a man. I enveloped him in a towel, brewed tea, and stayed by his side until the tremors faded. In that instant, he appeared before me. I truly saw him. For the first time in ages, someone truly saw me. It began with innocence. Absolutely it was. He'd stand by me in the kitchen as I cooked. He'd inquire about my day. He shared stories of his classes, the ache for his mom, the hollow weight he bore like a second skin. I heard every word. For the first time in years, someone truly heard me. It happened without purpose, nothing laid out. Two souls adrift, desperately bridging the void between them. Yet the house started to transform. Or perhaps I truly did. I found myself clinging to conversations that had long since run their course. His eyes would seek mine, a silent plea in every word he uttered. My heart raced at his smile, his laughter, just his presence in the room. It filled me with dread. Yet it was so alive. Richard remained oblivious, or if he did, silence was his only reply. He was lost to me, deeper than before. At home, he was distant, trapped behind a screen, behind an insurmountable wall. David felt the weight of the moment. He always did. That night, while I arranged the table, he gazed at me and whispered, "Auntie, you make everything so beautiful. No one says it often enough." And something within me shattered. It was never about the words. To be seen, to be cherished, to be desired. The house remained unchanged, yet within it was a different story, as if the air weighed down on everything. Every glance lingered, heavy with unspoken words. Every touch ignited a spark. I should have ended it then. I should have set boundaries before they faded away. After enduring endless hunger, even the smallest morsels become a grand banquet. Suddenly, I found myself craving his presence. To his inquiries, to his smiles that stretched beyond anything Richard could muster now, I convinced myself it was nothing to worry about. I convinced myself he craved solace. I was just offering it. Yet in the depths of my soul, I understood. The gravity of our exchanged glances was undeniable. The warmth of our words lingered in my heart. Somewhere along the way, silence transformed into something deeper, something unspoken yet profound. We were crafting a bond that defied definition. What could be worse? I couldn't bear to end it. After years of being unseen, I finally felt the spark of life return. I was noticed. Nothing else could instill such fear in me. I knew it all along. As we plunge deeper into this delicate bond, the ascent becomes increasingly daunting. Still, I sank deeper. A single smile, a single exchange, each heartbeat counts. Rain poured down on that Saturday, heavy and relentless, the kind where the outside world is dull and oppressive, and the house feels constricted, almost suffocating. Richard had returned. But not at all. Trapped in his study once more, I never inquired about the purpose. I had given up on asking ages ago. The rain whispered against the windows, unwavering, unyielding. In that stillness, I fell into my familiar rhythm. I created a meal. It was absurd, truly. Cooking transformed into my sacred ritual, my facade of illusion. Life still clung to a flicker of warmth, a warm embrace. The roast sizzled in the oven, anticipation thick in the air. Potatoes bubble quietly, a promise of warmth and comfort. Rosemary and garlic waft through the air, igniting memories and stirring emotions. And then he appeared. David. He leaned against the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, hair damp from the shower, t-shirt clinging just right. My eyes met his. Gave a brief yet heartfelt smile. I convinced myself it meant nothing at all. I convinced myself he was merely a companion. Yet deep down, my heart understood the truth. The air thickened as he stepped into the room, a haunting realization that clung to me. He drew nearer, eyes fixed on my every shift from stove to counter, counter to oven. His gaze was unyielding. "Smells incredible," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "You turn everything into a sanctuary." My breath hitched. Richard's words hung in the air, a haunting echo of silence that stretched back into the shadows of time. I brushed it aside with a chuckle. It's only dinner, yet it feels monumental. Yet within, a storm ignited. A delicate whisper. I reached for the pepper mill, my hand grazing his. A flicker. A chill runs through me. Absurd, I berated myself. Yet another fleeting caress. He thrust a wooden spoon into my hands. Our fingers brushed, lingering for a heartbeat too long. As I glanced up, his gaze was fixed on me, not like a boy at all, not as a nephew. Absolutely not. His smile held a depth beyond his years. A man locked eyes with a woman. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen, driven by desire, not for the sake of courtesy, not defined by being a wife or an aunt, yet it was simply because I was myself, and that was everything. That was perilous. I stirred the pot, fighting the tremor in my hands, engrossed in the movement, the pulse, the sharp scrape of the spoon against the pan's bottom. Yet my thoughts surged, "Let go. Guard this with your life." "Stop it now." His voice, a whisper, brushed against my back. "Auntie?" I spun around, gazes locked, hearts raced. He entered, and my breath hitched once more. "Auntie, I need to share something with you." I nodded, my throat tight with tension, and then everything changed. He whispered a wish into the void, a moment that would alter the course of fate, a single yes, unraveling a lifetime of questions. "Auntie, would you agree if I revealed my true desire?" In that instant, the rain outside vanished. The kitchen's warmth vanished, leaving only chill. The air around us crackled, heavy with an unspoken tension we could no longer define. And I was frozen. In that moment, I realized that my next words would seal my fate forever. I kept convincing myself it was merely a connection. Nothing wrong with that. Isn't that true? He was shattered. He craved solace. And I offered him a flicker of warmth, a touch of the familiar, a glimpse of safety. I whispered that to myself. Yet, as those words echoed in my mind, they felt like a desperate plea. I sensed the fractures within them. I was offering him everything. I was taking something as well. Those fleeting glances ignited a spark within me once more. He whispered my name, soft yet heavy with meaning. His gaze bore down, lingering on me far too long, and I craved it fiercely. Oh, the hunger I felt. Richard's face haunted me, icy and remote. In the past year, his touch could be counted on one hand. Those moments when his gaze met mine, truly connecting. Text. His love was palpable in the gentle sweep of his hand, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. In the way his hand sought mine beneath the covers, a silent promise in the dark. Now. Silence, a void, emptiness lingers. A subtle acknowledgement, a smile, devoid of warmth, a fleeting kiss, automatic and devoid of desire. There stood David, a young man marked by sorrow, yet harboring a deeper secret. A perilous threat looms, a desire I was never meant to crave. Yet I did. That was the most painful moment. I reminded myself he's in pain. He craves connection. This is everything. It will never be more than this. With every word, my conviction slipped further away. Deep within, past the guilt and shame, lay the raw truth. I craved someone, desperately. I craved recognition. I craved to be desired. I craved to be more than a specter drifting through my own existence. In those fleeting seconds, as he gazed at me with weary, yearning eyes, I ceased to be his aunt. I was not a woman bound to a man who had abandoned me in every sense but title. I was a woman, fierce and unyielding. A woman longing for the warmth of a touch she once knew. A woman left longing, never selected. A woman longing for significance, aching in silence. It filled me with dread. Desiring those things felt like a betrayal. It felt like a betrayal. Yet it pulsed with humanity. The harder I fought, the more it consumed me. I found myself staring at the clock, heart racing, waiting for David's return. I'd choose another blouse just to be safe. I stayed in the kitchen, clinging to the hope of one last moment, one final smile, one more spark of life. I loathed myself for it. But still, I was powerless to resist. Text. My heart raced at the sound of my name on his lips. The moment his hand grazed mine, a rush of warmth ignited within me. The ache deepened with each of his looks, as if I were the only one that mattered. Some nights I lay beside Richard, silent tears soaking my pillow, weep for the dreams that slipped away. My heart aches for the pain I've let in. I whispered urgently, "It's not too late. You're still standing on the edge." Not now, yet certain lines remain unspoken. Only in the aftermath do you realize the line has been crossed. That night in the kitchen shattered everything, or perhaps I transformed. I began to see the little details that mattered most. David was always near. He'd slip into the room, shadows lingering where Richard should be. His presence had turned into the heartbeat I silently longed for. He lingered longer, each moment heavy with unspoken feelings. Initially, it appeared harmless. He stayed close as I cooked, the air thick with unspoken words. Stay by my side as I sift through papers or tackle the laundry. Extend a hand to bring in the groceries, and I allowed it. I convinced myself he's all alone. He's shattered. His mother is gone. This is the essence of family. Yet, beneath it all, I sensed the truth lingered, unspoken. His gaze pierced through me. Text. My breath would catch as he stepped into the room. Text. My heart raced at his mere touch, igniting a fire within me. I couldn't brush those aside. I barely put in any effort. A storm raged outside, darkness swallowing the evening. Richard's voice crackled through the line, heavy with the weight of his late-night work. Once more. It hardly shocked me any longer. The silence of his absence was almost a relief. I sat in the living room, aimlessly flicking through the channels, searching for a way to escape the endless hours. Suddenly, David emerged. He asked, "Movie night?" Whispers linger. Yet something flickered in his gaze. I paused, heart racing. I regret not saying no. I should have stopped it right there. Yet I smiled. Absolutely. We picked a classic film. After all this time, there they were. One I knew would pull at the heartstrings. Constrict the space, envelop it in warmth. I whispered to myself, it's merely a film. He craves solace. This is okay. We lingered at opposite ends of the couch, the silence heavy between us. As the movie unfolded, the distance between us vanished. A fleeting look, a gentle laugh echoed softly, a whispered remark that hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. And then, that moment, a mother and son, shattered, holding on to one another in their sorrow. David stirred next to me. I glanced over. His face was wet with tears. Stillness envelops. Relentless, I reached out, instinct taking over. Intuition. I yanked him closer, embracing his trembling form tightly. I whispered to myself, this is what it means to be a mother. It's solace. This is essential for him. As I held him, a fissure tore through my soul. He pressed his face into my shoulder, fingers gripping my sweater tightly. Breath comes in gasps. Yet here we are. I held on tight. I just couldn't. Time slipped away, perhaps even more, and then his voice pierced through the silence. Gentle, just a whisper. I longed for a warm embrace. Holding on tight, I stood still, heart racing. My heart raced wildly within me. Yet my hand continued, driven by an unseen force, gradually, excruciatingly so. I gently ran my fingers through his hair, once more, struggling to believe this is love in its purest form. This is everything he craves. You're not at fault. Yet it had grown far more complicated. His body melted into mine, a moment of pure connection. My fingers hesitated, a moment stretched into eternity. My eyes ignited with an unnamed fire. This was dangerous. I felt it deep within me. I whispered to myself, just a bit more, only until his tears cease, only until this moment fades away. Yet it failed to make it through. It grew darker, and then everything changed. He lifted his gaze, our gazes collided. In that gaze, everything changed. A change stirred within, a moment forever lost to us. After that night on the couch, everything changed. He consumed my thoughts, how he held on, desperate and unyielding, how his eyes had pierced through to my soul. About the silent connection that lingered between us, and lingered in the silence, heavy and suffocating. I whispered to myself, let it breathe, take a moment. A heart-wrenching instant of loss, that's it. Yet space eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand. Every glance now carried a weight of unspoken questions. Each room we stepped into seemed to close in around us. Every part of me, once numb, now surged with feeling. Awake once more, Richard was gone, lost in the demands of work. A final, fleeting escape. I stayed silent. What's the reason for that? His absence echoed through the hollow rooms. Yet not without a voice. Now each breath echoed painfully in the silence, each shift. Eyes lingered, heavy with intent. That night, the storm unleashed its fury once more. The wind howled, shaking the windows with a fierce urgency. Rain pounded the glass, a relentless assault. Thunder crashed overhead, a primal cry echoing through the darkened sky. In the dark, I lay still, wrestling with my thoughts. Hiding the ache of anticipation, desperately feigning indifference, I glanced at my phone again, yearning for a message that would never arrive. A gentle rap echoed through the silence. Just a whisper, my breath hitched. I understood. I felt it deep within me, even before I took a step. I should have remained motionless. I should have turned away. I should have secured the door, yet I stood tall, stumbled forward, legs quaking beneath me. And then it was opened. He stood there, a silent storm brewing within. David. Hair clings, heavy with emotion, eyes wide open, shimmering. Shoulders slumped under a burden too heavy to bear alone. Silence stretched between us, heavy and charged. The storm howled, shadows dancing wildly across his face, illuminating his fear. And then, his voice shattered the silence. Just a breath away, I long for it. You made me feel cherished. Only once, my heart froze. Every fiber of my being shouted, "Stop, halt, shut the door." Now, yet my feet remained frozen, my hand remained on the frame, unyielding. And my heart aches, my heart shattered. In his voice, my own yearning echoed. In his gaze, every hollow night echoed back at me, every longing left unfulfilled. All of me had been longing. To hear those words spoken, he's in pain, I realized. Pain consumes me. This transcends mere longing. This speaks of void, only void. I moved aside, just enough, that's it. He stepped inside, gradually. One wrong move and everything would break apart. We would too. I stood frozen, embracing my own solitude. Struggling against every urge, every scream in my mind urged me to flee. Yet his voice returned. Just this once, just hold me tight, that's it. I choked back my fear, a silent agreement, and embraced the moment. He sank into them as if he had always been meant to be there. It felt as if he had been anticipating this moment for as long as I had. His breath caught, warm and urgent against my neck. His hands shook on my back, and mine. They surged forward, driven by instinct. Fingers tangled in his hair, clinging to him with a desperation I couldn't control. In a single heartbeat, all else faded away. I lost sight of myself. He slipped from my memory. I lost sight of the life that awaited me just beyond that door. In that heartbeat, I made him feel desired. I embraced the pulse of existence. And then, everything changed. Our lips barely touched, unforeseen. Unintentional, not a single kiss shared, a fleeting touch. Yet, I stayed close. Not just yet. In that fleeting moment, all I had fought to keep intact shattered. Unraveled, a heart laid bare. Just one is enough. In a single heartbeat, everything can change. After the dawn broke, I stirred before dawn's light. Just for a heartbeat. Hold on, I lost it. I lay there, breathless, eyes snap open. The rain's whisper dwindled to a haunting murmur. Then it struck me hard. The burden of my actions crushed me, of what I had permitted, of what I can never reclaim. The void within me expanded rapidly, endless. Breath escaped me. I turned onto my side. He was gone. He never was. The bed was an icy void, more desolate than before, and the house stood silent, holding secrets within its walls. The house pulsed with an unsettling energy, weightier. Every wall seemed to watch now, as if it just arrived, untouched and pristine. Clutching the sweater tightly, I descended the stairs, each step heavy with anticipation, heart racing, fingers quaking. The kitchen light flickered to life. The coffee mug sits silently on the counter, a vessel of warmth and unspoken stories. Half empty, unblemished, yet David was absent, leaving a void that echoed with uncertainty. A note, scrawled in a rush, lay on the notepad by the phone. Stepping away for a moment, I'll return soon. No stakes, cold emptiness, only emptiness. I fixated on those words, my sight fading into a haze. Food lost its meaning. My mind went blank. I sat alone at the table, the weight of silence pressing down. The silence envelops me, crushing and heavy. Each creak of the house echoed, piercing the silence. Each tick of the clock echoed like a verdict, and my thoughts collide. It echoed that moment endlessly. My hands cradling his head, his breath lingered on my skin. Our lips collide, a moment suspended. It's all it takes to shatter us completely. I convinced myself it was spontaneous. It was never meant to be. Yet guilt remained unyielding. It weighed on my heart like a heavy stone. I fought to keep my mind occupied. Folding laundry, my vision blurred, wiping surfaces that were already spotless, yet the truth remained unshakable. I had gone too far. It was a bond that could never be undone. Time slipped away. The sun ascended, relentless. The storm receded, leaving behind a harsh, piercing light. No trace of David yet. I convinced myself he needs distance. He's unraveling. You are too. A haunting fear lurked beneath the surface. What if he's gone forever? What if you've shattered something irreparable? Suddenly, in the late afternoon, the front door creaked open. Echoes of footsteps, hesitant, lingering. I stood still, fingers digging into the counter, pain shooting through my knuckles. David stood in the doorway, a shadow of uncertainty lingering around him, eyes heavy with weariness. Face drained of color, shoulders tense and coiled. For a heartbeat, we simply stared into each other's eyes. I yearned to voice my thoughts. I regret it deeply. It was a grave error. To utter a word that might mend this, yet my lips remained sealed. No words could capture the weight of what we shared. At last, his voice pierced through the silence, gentle, frayed. "Thank you for holding on to me." And then he vanished, climbing higher. Door shut tight, and I remained frozen in place, bound by guilt, yearning, and an unnamed emptiness that consumed me. The weight of the house pressed down, suffocating. Every sound pierced through the silence. Each silence speaks volumes. Silence screams. When Richard came back that evening, everything had changed. Text. His gaze lingered, heavy with unspoken words. More intense, he felt the change, a pulse in the air. He sensed the storm that had already swept through these walls. Silence hung heavy between them. In his gaze, I glimpsed the start of unspoken questions I feared to confront. What about David? He became ice, isolated. Leave the kitchen behind. All glances are now ours, only walls, constructed in a flash, raised to the sky. What about me? In that house, once vast, I sat alone, now crushed by the burden of a single yes. I believed I could bear the burden by myself. I believed holding it in would save me, concealed in shadows. Perhaps it would vanish. Perhaps it would fade, lose its bite. Yet it remains unchanged. If anything, it weighs down on me now. Each time I look at him, I confront the shadow of who I've become. Not the person I intended to become. Not the person I vowed to become. Yet she agreed, despite every instinct screaming to retreat. Was I selfish? I ponder this endlessly. Did I ease his pain or turn against him? His gaze that morning lingers, haunting me still, like a hand emerging from the ruins, clawing for a trace of love. What did I truly offer him? A fleeting embrace shadowed by endless remorse. Does he despise me now? Does he loathe himself? Do we share this feeling? Some days I long to let it out, to finally voice the truth, to anyone who can guide me through this suffocating weight on my chest. But who is it? Who can I rely on for this? Who can know my truth and still see me as they once did? It can't be Richard. This isn't my sister's memory, not even the face I know. I bear it in solitude. I smile when I have to. I voice my thoughts only when called upon. Yet deep down, I am shattering. The most painful moment. A buried part of me stirs, waking me in the night, gasping for breath. Longing for it, longs for the ache of desire, longs for that one wild heartbeat that brought me back to life. I despise myself for that above all else. What if I let that line blur just once? Who's to say I wouldn't do it again? And I tremble. That was just the beginning of my defiance. Have you ever taken a leap? Never to betray, never to wound, but really, to reclaim my humanity, to experience warmth on skin turned cold, to finally be noticed after a lifetime of shadows. Listening to the soft whisper of your own heartbeat, you live on, I whisper to myself. It was never my intention. I convince myself it was merely an attempt to fill the void. Emptiness holds peril. It drives us to stretch beyond. It erases all memory. It forces us to grasp what we can never return. Go on, speak. Is comfort still pure when you both understand its deception? It's the question that lingers, tormenting my thoughts. Each alone, light breaks, and if this tale awakened a feeling within you, if it brought back a memory you'd prefer to leave behind, or a line you nearly crossed, join Hidden Love Stories for what comes next. It could strike a deeper chord. David remains here, a haunting presence. We share the same table. He responds only when addressed. His smile is a mask, worn only when necessary. Yet, certain silences linger. Express what words cannot capture. In his presence, my nephew fades away. I see the boy longing for love. And the woman who chose to embrace it all. I sit across from him at dinner, fork gripped tightly, voice calm, while turmoil brews within. I am breaking apart. Some moments shatter marriages forever. They don't shatter walls or tear through homes. Absolutely not. Moments that linger, they shatter what lies beneath. They shatter the very essence of who you believed you were. When the lights fade and silence envelops the house, then the whisper arrives. You stood by and watched. You craved it. You've transformed beyond recognition. Perhaps you will never be the same again. Join the journey of hidden love stories. Sometimes the toughest tales are those we endure in quiet solitude.